Primarily.
Yeah, so it's his first feature anyway since Shape of Water, which won Best Picture. Del Toro won Best Director. So obviously, all eyes on what is Del Toro going to do next. And this is honestly his most straightforward movie uh, to date. There's no supernatural element, nothing occult, nothing scary. It's really straightforward. It's about Bradley Cooper's character, Stanton Carlisle, kind of a drifter guy who catches on with a traveling carnival in the 1930s. And there he meets a lot of characters and continues his life. And, this is an adaptation of a novel from 1946 that had been adapted into a film back in the 40s. So obviously not really a source material anyone knows, but kind of just a straight up adaptation. And uh, Stanton, he becomes a mentalist at the carnival. There's a lot of memorable characters, familiar faces he encounters at the carnival. Willem Dafoe kind of runs the show. He picks up the mentalist stuff from a couple, Tony Collette and David Heron. Clifton Collins is there. Ron Perlman. He meets Rooney Mara, who becomes a love interest for him there. And the first hour or so of the film is Stan kind of coming into his own, understanding how the carnies, you know, do their grift, do their thing in terms of misleading the public into entertaining them and whatnot. And then the movie kind of flips about halfway through where Bradley Cooper and Rooney Mara run off to Chicago. They run off to civilization basically, and decide to do like a high end mentalist show for rich people in the city. And at that point, we encounter Kate Blanchett's character, who's kind of like a psychologist who sees their set, but it's really a Cooper movie. Cooper is in basically every scene, and I think he's pretty good in this, right? Kind of having the layers behind his lifetime's backstory uh, uncovered by Blanchett, and Stan kind of gets subsumed by the grift, by the desire to be a mentalist, and his grasp on his priorities start to shift. And I'd say it's a pretty compelling film, but it's quite long. It's almost 2.5 hours long, and there's no twist coming. It's just kind of like a neo noir pseudo thriller film. But like I said, it's kind of straightforward. So it does feel a bit long. Like you're like it's a whole hour at the carnival, and then it's like an hour plus in Chicago. And I like the characters and all, but it felt just a little long in the tooth, honestly. And there wasn't quite like a whole lot there at the end. Like it's compelling enough, but like there's no like deeper theme or deeper message. I guess it's just more about how like the most evil thing is like what man can do to each other. I guess is kind of like the overarching message here. But I liked it, but it was a little long. I think it could have used some tweaking again, given that it's kind of a straightforward, simple story.
So just real quick, the movie I was thinking of was Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which he was a writer and producer on. But for some reason, I just remembered that one from 2 years ago. Um, and hearing you talk about this, and I did look, the movie is 2 hours and 30-minute runtime. Um, I mean, it sounds like there's a lot of space for these characters to vamp. You if you even go down the line of who's in this movie, I mean, Tim Blake Nelson is like
Yes.
buried down here. So there's a lot of performers. Did any? I mean, it sounds like Bradley Cooper stood out. Did anyone else really catch your eye in this?
Yeah, Blanchett, even with limited screen time, is just as you can imagine, just being dynamite as she is. She's pretty eye
She's
catching.
magnetic. Yeah.
Yeah, uh, I'd say at the carnival, the best stuff's probably from Colette, but specifically David Straharan, who kind of teaches Stanton the mentalist ways and develops a connection with Stanton. he definitely has like the most to give. Defoe's pretty good, just kind of as uh, the manager of the carnival and what negative traits and mean spiritedness kind of accompanies that, and he kind of shows himself to Stanton over time. So I'd say Defoe and Straharan and Blanchett are probably the most memorable. I mean, heck, we even have Holt McElhenney just
Yeah, I was
kind
gonna
of
say.
being himself towards the end of the film. Nothing too much for him to do there. Um, Rooney and Kate Blanchett only share a very brief scene, so you don't really get the Carol reunion, even though
Mhm.
it's more or less period accurate. Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's really a Cooper film, and everyone else is definitely just a supporting character, just kind of on the periphery.
Are you expecting a Cooper nomination here?
Nah, I would say no, just because I don't know if this movie's gonna make the impact. Obviously, it had a really poor box office going up against Spider-Man, but I mean, like all
Yeah.
adult films, the box office has been dismal this fall, with the exception being House of Gucci. So, kind of to be expected, I suppose. But I mean, yeah, Best Actor is really tight, and yeah, I don't know if this will be the one. Like Cooper's good, but I wouldn't say he's like the best he's ever been or anything in this. So solid film, but nothing nothing too amazing.
A bit of a disappointment from Del Toro, coming back and directing. I think we all were hoping to get something a little more